The B-Wing Mark II. We've known about the Mark II ever since the Force Awakens Visual Dictionary identified the Resistance transport as using an armored B-Wing Mark II cockpit module. But beyond that, we know nothing about this ship. So like my attempt at a next-generation Y-Wing design, I took it upon myself to come up with a design for the B-Wing Mark II. So where to start? Well, obviously with the cockpit. And we fortunately got a pretty good look at it in The Last Jedi, as one of these detached cockpit modules is what Finn and Rose took to Cantonica. We can see that it's a pretty spacious cockpit, which really doesn't jive much with the single-seat fighter that we know the B-Wing to be. So the logical conclusion is that the B-Wing Mark II is a larger ship in general. I stripped and sleeked the transport cockpit down to what I reasonably believed the original fighter cockpit might look like, and came up with a way to fill the space logically. The B-Wing shares a lot of similarities with World War II era torpedo bombers, as it was understood to be a heavy-hitting fighter that could take down capital ships, but was known to be a poor dogfighter. And that brought to mind the Douglas TBD Devastator, which could pretty much be described in exactly the same way. The Devastator had a long 3-man cockpit with a pilot, bombardier, and a rear gunner. This feature was something I wanted to incorporate into the larger B-Wing design, so naturally I added a turret to the rear of the cockpit. With the cockpit fleshed out, all that remained was, well, the entire ship actually. I wanted it to be distinct and different from the original B-Wing, but I also wanted to push it into more unconventional territory, maybe paying homage to its Mon Calamari origins with a more fluid and curving hull. I looked again to real-world aircraft for inspiration, and remembered the Horten 229, a German jet-powered light bomber from World War II that never really made it much past the prototype stage. The shape of this thing is really unique, and it was the perfect inspiration to inform the main body of my B-Wing. Ultimately, my B-Wing Mark II comes out to 22 meters wide, a modest increase from the original B-Wing's 17 meters. My thought is that the B-Wing Mark II would shed pretty much all pretense of it being a fighter, as it was clearly outclassed in that role by robust next-generation X-Wings and A-Wings. Instead, the B-Wing Mark II would dig its heels into a light bomber role, operating with a wing of escorts on missions to single-handedly destroy massive capital ships with its specialized payload of incredibly powerful torpedoes. These would be loaded into a magazine which occupied the Mark II's distinctive notch, and from here they would be cycled further down the main wing and fired. My thought is that while initially the Mark II surpassed all expectations, the New Republic government found such a powerfully destructive craft to be distasteful in a gradually demilitarizing galaxy. Most of the Empire's Starfleet had been destroyed or scrapped, and their massive forced military downsizing program left very few targets for which the Mark II was well suited. This led to a very small number of these craft being produced. Most were stripped of their weapons and sold to private individuals, while others found their way into private defense forces on the Outer Rim. As for why the Resistance apparently had B-Wing parts laying around but no B-Wings to be seen, I imagine that the factory that produced the Mark II had a number of unfinished fighters in production when their contract was cancelled by the New Republic, which left them with a lot of fairly useless components. Engine housings, cockpit shells, hull panels, these would be sold wholesale at auction and eventually find their way into Resistance hands, though it's possible that the organization operated at least one fully functional Mark II. So that is my B-Wing Mark II. Do you think it's suitable for personal headcanon? Do you wish that we had seen the B-Wing in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi? Let me know what you think of the design. If you like the design and you do 3D stuff, I have this model for sale on my Sketchfab account, along with some of my other models such as the T-85 X-Wing, the next generation Y-Wing, the First Order TIE Bomber, and the Outrider. If you like this content, let me know and maybe suggest some other ships that I can tackle in the future. To the rest of you, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.